Shop. I'm Chetan, and with me is Chris. Say hello again, Chris.
Hello again, Chris.
Never gets old, does it?
I'm an obedient little boy.
So, Chris, you didn't shave for today's episode. What happened?
Didn't I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling more manly.
Okay. And speaking of manly stuff, we're talking about sports today.
Sports, yes. So
Sports and comics.
sports and
Or
comics. So just to get this started, how about what sports do you like?
I'm a huge baseball fan.
Okay.
I like baseball and football. Hockey, I used to like when we had a team in Toronto. You know,
You mean
any
1967?
Yes, that's it. Yes, yes. Anyone who lives in Toronto understand our what do you call it? Disappointment in not having a team.
Yes, exactly. So and baseball, you like Major League?
Yes, yes. I'm a
Okay.
huge baseball fan.
Okay. I'm into some minor league baseball, and I'm okay with Major League Baseball. Like, and the Jays would definitely be my team. I like there's a few teams in the minor league that I love going to minor league games. So that's to me is a huge fun thing to
They're
do.
fun, and you know what? I've been watching off and on. Japanese games are fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, they're huge in baseball. I mean, Japan's huge.
and they're taking over, North American baseball this
Yeah,
point too. So
and one I liked for baseball was the World Series of the World Baseball Series, where they had different countries. I mean, it's major league players in it, but
yeah,
still, it was fun to watch. You know, see different
yeah.
countries and stuff like that.
I like minor league because a lot of the times the players are a little bit more approachable and it's a little bit more casual. You're not sort of like, in a big stadium a mile away from the thing. Like I was in,
Yes.
there was an Ottawa game. I think it was Ottawa at the time versus Buffalo. And I went to the game in Ottawa. I bought my ticket 2 days before and I was behind home plate. And I think I paid like $30.
What's your team called?
Well, there's no longer a team in Ottawa. I think I forget what they were called. Which I didn't really care because I was mostly about the other teams. Like my two favorite minor league teams, I like Buffalo and I like um, Toledo. Those are the two teams that I sort of follow.
Toledo's Mud Hens, right?
Yep,
And Bisons for Buffalo.
for Buffalo. Yeah,
Yeah. Now I remember Toledo Mud Hens. I mean, that was a huge team for a long time.
yeah. Well, Klinger helped make it popular.
Oh,
Mash.
yes, yes. Okay, so there's a team in Savannah, Georgia,
Yep, the
and
Savannah Bananas.
Bananas. Yes, they're the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
Yeah, yeah. They were a regular minor league team that I think decided that they needed to make money and decided that they wanted to actually have because a lot of minor league games, like I was saying earlier, I could get a minor league ball ticket like 2 days before and have the best seats in the house for ridiculously cheap. And so I think a lot of the minor league teams, if they don't have a major league team huge sponsor, they just don't get the money. So
Yeah, that's it. And but now I think people are going to a lot of minor league games, what you just mentioned, because when I took my kids to the game, there was $70 a person for tickets.
yeah,
And only reason with that is I wanted decent seats. I don't want to be. We've gone to all the way to the nosebleeds, and I mean there were $20 seats, but they're $20 seats, and you can't see who's you can't even tell who the players are.
no, it looks like a 1980s video game,
Yeah, yeah.
just little pixels running around the screen. So
I mean,
to get completely off topic of comic books,
yes. So no, but it's not off topic because remember DC in the 70s and 60s and 70s used to do sports comics.
I
You remember
remember there's
those?
a few. There's like I know that there was like Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
No,
Uh,
there's the strange sports stories, if I remember.
I don't remember that.
You don't? I remember
No.
one was if I remember the cover, I'll have to look it up. It's an umpire that's invisible, I think. Invisible umpire.
That's crazy.
Yeah, strange sports stories.
I'll have to check that out. I'll see if I
Okay, I
can.
think it was late 60s and early 70s. DC did. I don't know if Marvel, I don't think Marvel did anything like that, but I know DC did.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm trying to think if Marvel's ever had sports in it because I know, like I was saying, well, there's that. Then there is like Muhammad Ali versus Superman is another really
yeah,
like well-known one, and I seem to like. I feel like DC's the more likely one to have like a guest appearance, like when Mark McGuire was really popular, to have him make an appearance with Green Lantern or something. It was more their style than to have like Bo Jackson with the X-Men or something. Like you would never see
Well,
that.
I saw Brian from Worlds Collide posted something last year. It had a Harlequin cover with a baseball and a baseball glove, and I was thinking, is that a tie-in with the baseball season or something like that? And I can't remember what he said about it, but the cover was striking.
Yeah, well, I remember Harlequin, particularly in the movies, has a baseball bat. She calls it like
Yes,
her,
she does.
what is
Yes,
it, like Daddy, Mommy's little friend or something? Like it's got like a weird name sort
there's
of written on it.
okay.
Yeah, so that's sort of, I guess, choice of weapons is it could be considered one of that. There's a couple of characters that have had baseball bats. Like, well, Negan from Walking Dead is known for having a baseball bat
Yeah,
too.
baseball bat. Yeah, with the spikes on it or whatever it is.
Barbed wire, I think you're absolutely
Barbed wire. Yes.
right.
But here's a question. I know in the 50s and 40s, 50s, they did comics on I Love Lucy, Cowboys, and all that. I'm trying to think if they did anything like on Joe DiMaggio or Mickey Mantle or, Babe Ruth or anything like that.
I think I've seen some like, when you see like the true to life comic books, like I've seen like, the life of the Beatles and
Oh, no,
stuff like
no.
that.
Those I've seen those. But I mean, let's say, for example, Don Rickles, they did comics on him. And he
Yeah.
appeared in various things. I wonder if like Mickey Mantle appeared, or let's say even Hank Aaron.
I
Did he
imagine the
appear?
Harlem Globetrotters did at some point.
I would think so. I would think
I mean, they
so.
were on Scooby-Doo a few times.
Yes.
So I'm sure there's a comic book version of the Scooby-Doo crossover, but I'm also
Now,
sure that I could see the Harlem Globetrotters, Harlem Globetrotters and Batman, particularly during the sort of, the sort of the Adam West Batman period. Like if you had that style of Batman, having the Globetrotters appear in a comic would be logical.
now, now I now this is a talk we've had with a buddy of mine who's a huge football fan. And right now is playoffs for football and stuff. So we're talking about sports, and for North America, especially America, sports wise, baseball is the huge sport. Even though football, Super Bowl is huge, baseball still has held the tradition of being their number one sport.
Yeah.
And I think with a lot of things, crossovers and stuff, recently it's been more basketball, but baseball is always there.
The football one I can think of now actually is William the Refrigerator Perry was a member of G.I. Joe for a while.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
I actually have the action figure.
Yes.
So,
Then if and then away if you want to tie things away from comics, remember Space Jam with Michael Jordan?
of course, yeah, that's completely legitimate. That's a complete
Yeah.
cross. And then
And
they
I
did a
think
later
that
one with what's his name, the current big basketball player,
and
uh,
we
LeBron James, isn't it?
LeBron James, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. And we can't forget the main one. I think it's been called one of the worst movies of all, Steel,
Oh yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, but he was playing steel. He wasn't. It wasn't like he was like a basketball player that wasn't Shaquille O'Neal in the thing. They just
But
they
it's
just
I still haven't watched that whole movie yet. So
I've never seen it. So
okay.
maybe one day we should do a voice commentary on this and watch Steel together and just
Oh,
record our reaction.
that would be good. That would be now for sports related characters. I think it's a 1940s character called Sportsmaster.
Really? What
Yeah,
is it?
DC.
Marvel?
No, DC.
You see, it was the
He was I think the villain of Justice Society of America,
I don't think I've ever read that.
and he had the old school umpire padding, baseball bat, and I think I don't remember the mask. I don't know where the mask is from.
Speaking of Matt, Casey Jones from Turtles also wears a hockey mask.
Yeah, and he has a hockey stick.
Yeah, like he's very sort of sports. He uses and
Yeah,
he even used golf clubs and stuff. Like he'll use sort of every kind of sports thing to sort of to
yeah.
fight too. So that's another example. But again, that's not necessarily real sports. That's just somebody sort of using sports equipment to unleash
Yeah,
justice, sort of like Harlequin does. She's not a
and
baseball
remember,
player.
And remember in the 90s, Marvel, when they did their new universe, they did that football comic.
I don't remember
The
that.
what was it called? It was their new universe with Starbrand and Merc and what's the other? That's how good of a title they were. Don't remember the title.
Exactly.
It's I'll look it up. They did a football team,
Okay. That's odd, but okay. You
which
know,
made no sense. Which made no sense. I don't. I'm assuming they had superpowers or something.
yeah. It's weird how like there's been a few little sort of crossovers, and there's definitely sports like we talk about Harlequin and Casey Jones from Turtles who uses sports equipment, but there really hasn't been like a successful, well-known this guy's a sports guy. Like even the characters, like are there any characters whose alter egos or something is an athlete?
I don't know. Marvel, no, because Marvel, most Marvels were either wimps or they were lawyers or something. And
Yeah,
DC one, they're either pilots or reporters or
scientists or something.
scientists or something like that.
Yeah, like nobody's ever sort of breached.
No, the only one I remember is Wildcat from DC. He was a boxer, former boxer.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that's the only one I remember. Marvel, no. I
It's
remember in
weird.
the X. I remember in the X-Men, Chris Claremont used to have them playing baseball all the time.
Yeah, and hanging out by the pool.
Yeah,
For some reason, they love swimming. I think it's
yeah.
to get women in bikinis, but I'm pretty. But yeah, it's weird that like there's so many heroes out there, and none of them are like, well, this guy's an athlete. Like even like it's surprising. It's a surprising character trait they've never done in a that I can think of in a superhero.
I think I think they probably didn't do that because you know I'm thinking on the movie Revenge of the Nerds. Remember, it's either
Yeah,
you had the nerds or you had the jocks, and both did not blend in.
I guess so. I guess it's sort of like I mean that's the other thing that about comic books is like how many. I mean, I think it's a lie to say that only nerds read comics and jocks don't, and things like that. I think there's plenty of jocks who enjoy comic books, but
But
I
that
think
was the stereotype for a long time.
it was a stereotype, and I think that the fantasy of comic books is often the wimpy nerd that ends up getting the powers and becoming stronger than the
Yes.
powerful person. So to some degree, it's almost like the nerd overcoming the jock is almost the storyline to some degree. So,
But
but
you got me thinking. I don't think there was any characters from those times that you know were like you know athletes or something like that. I
yeah,
remember. I remember in Clark Kent had the reporter who was a sportscaster that always picked on him.
yeah. Generally, that was the case, and I think Peter Parker too for a while.
Oh yeah, Flash Thompson. He was a jock.
Yeah. So there's often this sort of the anti-hero, the not the villain, but sort of like the I guess the villain of the secret identity is often the jock.
Yeah.
So
Now, any like even something like even auto racing or even soccer or things like that, you don't see that in sport. I mean, in in the comics universe.
yeah, I think sometimes Iron Man had some sort of sports car things involved, and there was often like I think there was also like there might have even been is there Green Lantern where Hal Jordan sort of had because he was a test pilot, he sort of had the racing thing. I seem to remember reading a Green Lantern comic once where he was driving a sports car.
Oh, most likely. I mean, Bruce Wayne always did that.
Yeah, yeah, but there was definitely not like a professional, except for maybe I think there's an Iron Man story where Tony Stark was like, you know, in Monaco driving a race car. There's definitely a
But
movie. I think
was that in that was in the movies, wasn't it?
yeah, but I think it's based on a comic book. Like I think there was like
Oh,
a
okay.
60s or 70s story that I remember reading. I remember when the movies came out, there was a list of comics that were inspired, and I think one of
Inspired,
them,
yeah.
yeah. So I think the idea of like, he isn't necessarily a professional as much as he's just a rich guy who can, then afford to go into auto racing, and so he does.
I'm surprised right now they're not doing more like on, like crossovers with sports more now. Like example, like we were talking about baseball. Like baseball is becoming huge again, and someone like let's say Shohei Ohtani, you know, why
Exactly.
aren't they crossing him over into comics now?
Although
Because
maybe
that
he
would
is
be
already in Japan, because one thing with sports comic books, manga has a lot of sports comic books.
they do. They have a lot of them.
You
Now,
know,
again, when we talk about this stuff, we're talking about North American books because North Americans are publishers are hate to say it, they're not daring as Japanese or European markets are on testing out this type of material. Where Japan, yeah, you probably have. Well, my daughter reads a book called Blue Lock, which is based on soccer.
yeah. There's also a really popular one on basketball right now.
She dunk. She has
Dunk.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's tons of baseball ones out there.
There was a kid that I was he wanted to make a comic book, and he was asking me to help him out, and I was helping him out, and he wanted to do one on badminton.
See, there you go.
And his story was great, like a brilliant. It was like a really, I mean, the stories are generally really simple. It's often like there's some kind of like, there's a rivalry, and they play the sport, but then there's a bit of magic. So, like the dunks will be like colossal dunks, almost like Space Jam if you think about it,
They
where they
do,
sort of
and I think with Blue Lock, I think there's demons involved in it somewhere.
exactly. Well, Space Jam, to be honest, Space Jam is manga.
Yeah, you're right because it had aliens and all that stuff, and yeah, you're right.
If you like the first Space Jam, you should definitely start reading some sports manga, because I think I find some similarities.
Oh, definitely. And you know what? I kind of wish again. This is another topic for another time, and we've already talked about it. Where North America is never going to, dwell into that type of subject matter.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you though. Would you ever write a sports character into one of your comics, or have you ever thought about writing a sports comic?
Interesting you mentioned that. I was thinking about doing a comic on baseball.
Interesting.
I
So
was.
would it,
I'm not joking. I had this plan for about 3, 4 years now.
and so without getting into the story, because we don't want spoilers,
Yeah.
but is it like manga thing, like where it's like gets magical and there's like
Oh yeah.
powers, or is it just like
Definitely. No, no, no. Definitely, it's magical.
cool? And
Yeah.
would you use real players, or would you just make up players?
No, make up players, make up teams, and everything.
Interesting. Interesting.
I've been
I don't
thinking
want to ask
about
more
for
questions because I feel like I'm going to give something away, and I don't want to
no,
give it away.
seriously. I've been thinking about for it's one of those things where I have so many ideas, not enough hands to draw it.
Hmm.
So I've been thinking about it, and honestly, it's an idea I've had for a couple of years now.
It's interesting.
So it's related to baseball and stuff like that.
That's interesting. I'm looking forward to it and hoping maybe
Okay,
2027 we'll see it.
now this is a now you brought up sports and comics and all that stuff. Now this is one embarrassment I have to say, and I'm going to say it out in public now. And a friend called me out on this many years ago. I'm a huge baseball fan, but I have no clue what cricket is about.
Yeah, you might have to give back your Indian nationality there.
That's it. Yes, that's a huge disappointment. I call it American cricket. So, you know, when relatives come over, I go, I'm watching American cricket.
Nice, nice. That's appropriate. I've
And
watched a couple of cricket matches, and I have no idea what's going on.
but then again, my cousin's son came over last year from India, and him and his buddy came over, and I'm watching baseball. They're watching it, and they're like, going, "Can you explain it to me?" I said, "I'm trying to explain it to them." They had no clue what I was saying.
Yeah, makes
You
total
know, because
sense.
yeah. So but that's my embarrassment. East Indian, I have no clue how cricket's played.
I mean, I lived in Pakistan for 2 years, so I have a bit of
No, but
shame.
you have no excuse. My culture is growing up on cricket,
Yeah.
so it's like telling an American how to throw a baseball.
It'd be funny is in your comic book about baseball at one point, like a big battle's just over and they're like, oh, finally, we're the champions, and then just have a cricket team show up and go, really?
If you remember my comic I did years ago, Karma comic, I did mention a thing about cricket in it, saying I have no clue, what's this about. And that was another idea for the baseball comic. I would do a chapter on cricket, me trying to
Mhm.
explain how I don't know what cricket's about.
Fair enough. And what a googly is.
Yes. And here's one thing in which now in India, example, comics are becoming popular now. People are creating their own comics. I'm wondering if there is a comic based on cricket.
Well, if anybody out there is doing a cricket comic and wants to plug it, let us know about it. We'll even have you on as a guest so you can try and explain the rules to us.
Yes, yes.
Might be a long episode
But I mean, there's so many sports out there that especially European, Asian, that I'm sure they're doing comics on. Like, for example, field hockey. I'm sure there's a comic on field hockey somewhere.
soccer, there has to be. It's the most popular sport in the world.
Oh, it has no, there is. Like as a Blue Lock, there's one. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's multiple different versions. But even something like rugby, I'm sure there's a comic out there on it.
I've often wondered if doing a comic book to teach you the rules about sports. Like, I had a friend who was sort of interested in writing just a book, like a novel, like a regular book that gives you basic instructions on popular sports. So if you don't know it, you can just sort of, read two
Oh,
chapters.
like one of those dummies type of books.
Yeah. And so I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to do it like a comic book based that just teaches you the rules of sports?
We should do a comic on darts.
Have you ever played darts?
I played it where a friend was playing by rules, and it's like, okay, let's just throw darts. We could have a comic where you throw darts at the comic at the end.
It's a little dartboard on the back.
Yeah,
We'll sell thousands of copies because everybody who likes it has to buy a new one every year.
yeah, no mint copies.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, sports wise, now you know what, I'm really baffled by the 50s and 60s when they had all these celebrity, TV show related comics, Western comics, cowboy comics and comedian comics and things like that. I'm sh I'm positive there's a Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth, or Mickey Mantle comic out there, or Willie Mays comic.
It's funny because as a celebrity, like, celebrity endorsements or celebrity appearances are worth a lot to brands. Like, having, well, I mean, Michael Jordan made the running shoe business what it is today. And the thing about
Yeah.
putting a sports figure in a comic book is you don't even actually have to pay them to be there.
Do you remember the in the was it 80s or 90s when they had the milk ad with the mustache and they had I remember sports athletes were some of them in
Yeah.
those ads. But those are ads. They're not,
Yeah.
they're not really part of the main comic storyline, but they were ads.
Yeah. Oh, I was almost going to, before I forget, this is sort of sports related, but wrestlers.
Wrestlers, yeah, well, non sports entertainment.
But they've definitely made appearances in comic
Yes,
books
they have. Yeah, because
over the
Hulk
years.
Hogan has made comic appearances in a lot of things.
Sergeant Slaughter was in G.I. Joe as well.
Yes, he was. Yes, yes,
And
yes. You're
also,
right.
it goes the other way around, where there's a lot of comic book, like there's a current wrestler, CM Punk, who's known for being like huge
Yeah,
into comic books.
comic book fan. Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
there's a lot of them that so. And to be honest, the stories in wrestling aren't too far off from the stories in comic books.
Come on, Macho Man is a comic book character,
Yeah,
and he was in Spider-Man.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
So I mean, no, I forgot about wrestling. Yes, you're right. Wrestling and comics are the only two sports that go along with each other.
Yeah, I mean boxing does a little bit, but wrestling
A little
definitely
bit.
does.
Well, wrestling, anyone who's watched wrestling, I would say 70% of those guys probably read a comic in their life
Yeah,
or still do.
yeah. I mean, the stories are pretty much the same, just
Yeah.
confined to a building as opposed to, fighting outside in the city. Uh, and it's sort of like every time that there's hundreds of conflicts that happen. There's good guys, there's bad guys. It writes itself.
Now, here's the thing you mentioned earlier, and which I'm wondering how they even came across that idea, Superman versus Muhammad Ali. You know, I wonder who approached who on that idea. Did Muhammad Ali's people approach DC, or DC approach them?
I don't know, but I can see it why it happened though, because Muhammad Ali was sort of even before wrestling characters were really sort of mainstream and like like they were all it was wrestling was much smaller then. But Muhammad Ali was the first boxer who sort of acted like a wrestler
He was an
publicly.
entertainer,
Exactly. Like he would his interviews were bold. He,
bold.
had
Yeah,
statements. He was like,
yeah.
really charismatic.
He was the macho man of that time.
He was really, yeah. I mean, he was really sort of and really an interesting character, beyond just whatever his real persona was. But he put on a persona that was a superhero.
Now, mentioning that, I just thought of something, and I don't know how you really technically it is called a sport, but Evil Knievel was popular in the 70s. And I remember seeing ads of him in comics.
I think he appeared in a few comic books as well.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I seem to have memories of him being like, you know, actually being. And I think there was a few comic books. I think there was an Evil Knievel. I think Gold Key actually did an Evil Knievel
Oh, probably,
comic
probably,
series.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he definitely. I mean, again, he's sort of bigger, larger than like Evil Knievel, the character flying in rocket ships over canyons is a comic book character. Like, you know, to say that he wasn't inspired by comic books when he was developing some of his stunts and his persona would probably be untrue.
Well, look at the costume he wore. I mean, come on, and he had a cape on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so I mean, if that's not a comic book influenced character, I don't know what is.
And a lot of the times his vehicles would have like extra stuff that was just sort of put on there to make it look cooler.
Yeah,
Like wings on a motorcycle. It's like, what's
yeah.
that really doing? So it's like I think he was probably I'm sure there's a lot of sports figure. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal mentions that he's a huge Superman fan.
Oh yeah, he has a tattoo, Superman tattoo, if I remember.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of Superman stuff. Like I've seen
Yeah,
tours his house, and he's really into it. So I think when you deal with sort of sports characters, whether it's wrestling, whether it's boxing, or whether it's like Shaquille O'Neal, I think a lot of the time they sort of they create a bit of their persona based on superheroes.
they do. Yeah,
And I think that's interesting because I feel like a lot of the sports figures, like if you sort of like what they're doing, chances are their persona has a bit of a
but
superhero.
let me ask you one thing. Did you? I bought the Muhammad Ali Superman not when it came out. I mean, it was I was too young at that time, but I remember buying later on in when I was in my early teens, buying that. I was impressed by that. Mind you, I knew who Muhammad Ali was way before that.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, Neil Adams' artwork blew me away, and the story, it was a fun story. But would you buy a sports comic?
I wouldn't not, but it would have to be something that would be interesting.
What would make you want to buy it?
I think for me, you'd have to somehow make it not feel like the sports are just put in like if you had like I'm trying to think like Otani in the Superman comic book. I don't want to just have it, hey, it's Otani, and then they shake hands and all that. It's like it would have to be important that he particularly needs to be in the story, or else it doesn't matter. Like, whether it's like, it turns out he has not.
That's the problem. I think with North American comics, it's like, hey, here's the celebrity, and that's it. Where I think what you said about the manga one, they'll integrate the celebrity or sports athlete into the storyline and work it into the plot.
Yeah, which they did a little with Space Jam. Like I
Yes,
know
they did. They did. Yeah.
I actually liked Space Jam. I thought it was actually a really good movie
Oh, it was a
in that
good
respect.
movie. Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
they did it well in that they sort of created the situation or they needed somebody who was like really good at basketball and sort of gave him magic powers, like he was better than Michael Jordan really was.
Yeah.
And so I think that works. Like there's a lot of times where I've seen appearances, particularly like when you talk about like when presidents have appeared in comic books,
Yes.
and they just sort of sit there and goes, "Oh, it's Ronald Reagan." And they're like, "Hi, I'm Ronald Reagan," and then that's the end, and that's it. You know what I mean? It's not like they actually like incorporated like why Superman needed to speak to that particular person, other than they're just famous.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's
but you're right. You're right. The Space Jam one actually worked really well. Muhammad Ali one, it was so-so. I mean,
yeah,
I read the story again years later and going, okay, you know what, this is a bad story. you know,
yeah.
the I think the artwork saved it.
But I would like to see more sports things. And there's a lot of big sports fans. Like I know Todd McFarlane's a big sports fan.
Yeah,
It would be great if there was some comic book creators sort of decided to get creative and bring sports into comic books because
well, mentioning that, um, McFarlane based one of the characters, and I know he got a lawsuit on one of the hockey players, didn't he?
maybe
And if I remember, wasn't the Wolverine character based on a hockey player?
I don't know
John
that.
Byrne based him on a hockey player?
I could see that for sure. Because again, comic books and sports seem to influence each other all the time.
That's it, yes. I'm trying to
So
remember if there was any mentions of hockey. Oh, Puck from Alpha Flight.
by name, maybe, but
by name, Canadian comic name character named Puck.
it's a little on
You
the
know,
nose.
yeah. No, what I was about to say was, did Alpha Flight have any references to hockey or, you know, well, I mean, that's the only major Canadian sport that people would know. I mean,
Lacrosse.
no lacrosse or even curling, but who cares?
If you could make a curling comic book interesting, you are in fact a genius comic book writer.
It's our next project, comic book on curling, the cosmic curling stones.
That's awesome. You're writing it. Don't
See?
tell anybody. You've got a brilliant idea.
There you go. We'll get Tom Yo to draw
Yeah.
it. Okay. Okay, I think we better end this episode before it gets worse.
Yeah. We're getting down the line of weird sports, but I
Yes.
look forward to your baseball comic book. I actually do.
Okay. You know what? I should get working on it, and I'll give you more details as I go along. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us again, and we'll talk more later.